Penguin Random House Audio presents Some Kind of Magic by Ann Marlowe. Read for you by Jorjeana Marie. Chapter 1. My pen tapped out the drum beat to the earworm on the radio. I glanced around to make sure I was alone, then grabbed an Erlenmeyer flask and belted out the chorus into my makeshift microphone. I'm begging you. With the countertop centrifuge spinning out a white noise, I could imagine a stadium crowd cheering. My eyes closed, and the blinding lab fell away. I stood on stage in the spotlight. "Eden," came a voice from the outer hall. I swiveled my stool toward the door, anticipating the arrival of my first fan. When Stacy came in, I bowed my head. "Thank you. Thank you very much." She shrugged out of her jacket and hung it on a wooden peg. Unimpressed by my performance, she turned down the radio. "You're early. How long have you been here?" "Since 7. The centrifuge slowed, and I pulled out tubes filled with rodent sperm. I want to leave a bit early to head into the city and catch Micah's show." She dragged a stool over. "Kelly and I are hitting the clubs tonight. You should come with." "Yeah, right. Why don't you come with me? Kelly's such a what?" The devil herself stood in the doorway, phone in hand. "Succubus from hell?" played on my lips, but it was too early to start a fight. "Such a guy magnet. Nobody can compete with you." Kelly didn't argue and turned her attention back to the phone. Stacy leaned her elbow on the counter, conspiratorially talking over my head. "Eden's going to abandon us again to go hang out with Micah." "At that filthy club?" Kelly's lip curled, as if Stacy had just offered her a non-soy latte. "But there are never even any guys there. It's always just a bunch of moms." I gritted my teeth. Micah's fans are not all moms. When Micah made it big, I was going to enjoy refusing her backstage passes to his eventual sold-out shows. Kelly snorted. "Oh, right. I suppose their husbands might be there, too." "That's not fair," Stacy said. "I've seen young guys at his shows." "Teenage boys don't count." Kelly dropped an invisible microphone and turned toward her desk. I'd never admit that she was right about the crowd that came out to hear Micah's solo shows, but unlike Kelly, I wasn't interested in picking up random guys at bars. I spun a test tube like a top, then clamped my hand down on it before it could careen off the counter. "Whatever. Sometimes Micah lets me sing." Apparently, Kelly smelled blood. Her tone turned snide. "Ooh, maybe Eden's dating her brother." "Don't be ridiculous, Kelly." Stacy rolled her eyes and gave me her best. Don't listen to her look. "Oh, right." Kelly threw her head back for one last barb. "Eden would never consider dating a struggling musician." The clock on the wall reminded me I had 7 hours of prison left. I hated the feeling that I was wishing my life away one workday at a time. Tongue peeked his head around the door and saved me. "Eden, I need you to come monitor one of the test subjects." Inhaling deep to get my residual irritation under control, I followed Tongue down the hall to the holding cells. Behind the window, a cute blonde sat with a wire snaking out of his charcoal gray dockers. Tongue instructed him to watch a screen flashing more or less pornographic images, while I kept one eye on his vital signs. I bit my pen and put the test subject through my usual Terminator robot full-body analysis to gauge his romantic eligibility. He wore a crisp dress shirt with a white cotton undershirt peeking out below the unbuttoned collar. I wagered he held a job I'd find acceptable, possibly in programming, accounting, or maybe even architecture. His fading tan, manicured nails, and fit build lent the impression that he had enough money and time to vacation, pamper himself, and work out. No ring on his finger, and blue eyes at that. On paper, he fit my mental checklist to a T, even if he was strapped up to his balls in wires. Scratch that. If he were financially secure, he wouldn't need the compensation provided to participants in clinical trials for boner research. Never mind. Tongue came back in and sat next to me. I stifled a yawn and stretched my arms. Don't get me wrong, this is all very exciting. But could you please slip some arsenic in my coffee? He punched buttons on the complex machine monitoring the erectile event in the other room. Why are you still working here, Eden? Weren't you supposed to start grad school this year? I was. I sketched a small circle in the margin of the paper on the table. You need to start applying soon for next year. Are you waiting till you've saved enough money? No, I've saved enough. I drew a flower around the circle and shaded it in. I'd already had this conversation with my parents. If you want to do much more than what you're doing now, you need to get your PhD. I sighed and turned in my chair to face him. Tongue, you've got your PhD, and you're doing the same thing as me. When he smiled, the corners of his eyes crinkled. Yes, but it has always been my lifelong dream to help men maintain a medically induced long-lasting erection. I looked at my hands thinking, Tongue, I'm not sure this is what I want to do with my life. I've lost that loving feeling. Well then, you're in the right place. I snickered at the erectile dysfunction humor. The guy in the testing room shifted, and I thought for the first time to ask, what are you even testing today? Top secret. You can't tell me? No, I mean, you'd already know if you read your emails. I do read the emails. That was partly true. I skimmed and deleted them, unless they pertained to my own work. I didn't care about corporate policy changes, congratulations to the sales division, farewells to employees leaving after 6 wonderful years, tickets to be pawned, baby pictures, or the company chili cook-off. He reached into a drawer and brought out a small vial containing a clear, yellow liquid. When he removed the stopper, a sweet aroma filled the room, like jasmine. What's that? He handed it to me. Put some on, right here. He touched my wrist. I tipped it onto my finger and dabbed both my wrists. Then I waited. What's it supposed to do? He raised an eyebrow. Do you feel any different? I ran an internal assessment. Nope. Should I? Do me a favor. Walk into that room. With the test subject? It was bad enough that poor guy's schwanz was hooked up to monitors, but he didn't need to know exactly who was observing changes in his penile turgidity. Tongue shooed me on through the door, so I went in. The erotica continued to run, but the guy's eyes were now on me. I thought, is that a sensor monitoring you, or are you just happy to see me? Hi. I glanced back at the one-way mirror, as if I could telepathically understand when Tongue released me from this embarrassing ordeal. The guy sat patiently, expecting me to do something. So I reached over and adjusted one of the wires, up by the machines. He went back to watching the screen, as if I were just another technician. Nobody interesting. I backed out of the room. As soon as the door clicked shut, I asked Tongue, what the hell was that? He frowned. I don't know. I expected something more.
some kind of reaction.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?